Hello, welcome back to episode 9 of What If Civilization Started Over. Last episode we saw a lot of stuff happen, including expansion, this French team forming, and the start of a big war in India between the triangle alliance, square alliance. And we are going to be seeing that war continue as Green Team continues to push into this Indigo team, which, if you remember, used to be a part of them. And they meet up at this river right here. It's very hard to see against this, but they meet up with the red team and they do a small push into them. Now the capital is fully encircled, so they have no time doing that and pushing these guys out further. And what is going to happen here is actually the people from the blue team, they are going to flee all the way up. They're going to flee up along the Indus River, just following it and heading to these as close to these Kashmir areas. But they follow the Indus River and eventually, after going in this Kyrgyz area, um, they re-establish themselves sort of as Blue Team has been moved here to Central Asia, although a lot of their population is still down here. Going to West Africa, the Green Team is going to expand up along the Niger, and they are going to conquer all this land. It's mostly just so they can reach their Ivorian lands a lot better, as the passage that they had to go to before would commonly get raided by bandits from the blue team. So they're working on establishing a route from the Niger to the Ivory Coast over here. Heading back over to Europe, this French team will continue their exploration as they explore new territory all the way, kind of avoiding the Alps a bit, but really explore all the way up to the Rhine, and they attempt to push a bit further, but the dense forests really make it hard for them. So they will just be claiming a bit of land. France will be gaining all of this land along the Rhine. We won't actually be going too far, as heading back over to Croatia, their situation isn't really getting much better, as rebellions pop up all over the eastern side of the country, and these people want to decentralize a lot, and they don't really like that the country is mainly focused over here, Dalmatian area. So there will be these rebellions will start moving in and taking territory. Eventually, they try to take the capital. They are easily defeated by the Byzantine forces. They're pushed back, decide to get their independence looking like this. Staying in Europe for a bit longer, the Maghreb team is going to keep exploring Spain, colonizing it. Eventually, they do an expedition into the Pyrenees, and all of this land is discovered. They stay away from this kind of area of Spain, which I'm sure that's the most mountainous. They also go into southern Portugal, claiming the Lisbon area, and then moving in to occupy all of this claimed land. Eventually, claiming the Pyrenees and meeting up with the Bay of Biscay. So it will end up looking like this. Now let's talk about the Maghreb team for a bit longer. Talk about their stability. The most stable area, obviously, around where their capital is. That's easily the most stable area. The second is probably Spain, which has the second highest population of in the team, and everyone there is pretty loyal to the crown. Next, it's going to be Italy, specifically the Italian peninsula. As these people, it's also pretty well populated, especially in the south. And the north, it's just like farmers. Next, it's probably going to be this Western Maghreb area, so like Morocco, Western Algeria, this area. And last, it's going to be the insular Mediterranean. Even though they are a very naval-focused empire, the insular parts of the empire feel underrepresented compared to the rest of the country. Anyway, the blue team down here is going to capitulate over to the green team. It'll be fully re-annexed even before the war ended. And now the triangle lines can put their main focus on the most powerful member of the square lines, which is the pink team. So they send their armies in. However, once they get closer to this Gujarat area, they realize that the pink team has a really good defensive line. The best way to get past it would be to get around it. So instead, what they decide to do is move into the red team, and they get close to their capital, and a big battle starts here. Because the idea here is that if they can capitulate all the square team's allies, then maybe the pink team will also just give up and surrender the capital here over to the orange team. This battle starts taking place around here. Meanwhile, while all this chaos is happening, the Somalian team will retake Socotra back from this blue team, who, even though this is where they technically started, even though they were neutral in the war, Somalia just saw the opportunity and they took advantage of it. Heading back to India, the battle has concluded and the victor is going to be the red team, who pushes them back to this river, and now morale in the green team is very low. But the general, who probably one of the smartest military minds at the time, right behind the leader of the Mesopotamian team, and probably behind some other African generals. He does the world's probably first encirclement of troops. And these soldiers for the red team are so shocked by this that they desert the red team, and a few of them even start worshipping the general of the green team that pulled this off. So after that, they're going to go down to the blue team, and now their country has been split in half. The eastern part falls relatively quickly, and the capital is under threat again. Next, heading back to Europe again, heading over to Greece. The exploration of Greece will continue, going over to this Thessaloniki area, And something very interesting happens over here when they get to Western Thrace, as large gold deposits are discovered, and word of this quickly spreads all over the known world. There are people in the Lesotho team that are hearing about the Greek gold and actually migrating over here to Egypt, which will actually discover the rest of mountainous Greece and attempt to set up a colony over here where all the gold is discovered. However, this colony doesn't like that they're only being used to extract gold for the Egyptian nobles down south. So they will actually break away into this red team. This red team will form. And this really, really angers Egypt. So, in an attempt to kind of keep their gold, they set up a colony here in Attica, which still does have some gold, I believe, but nearly not as much as northern Greece over here. So the red team is much wealthier than the Attican colony. Also, we see the rest of the Aegean be discovered, and they get closer to discovering all the Turkish Straits. Next, we'll be heading over to East Africa, where the red team will be invading the yellow team. The yellow team is kind of in a vulnerable situation right now because their king is a child. At this point, the yellow team is one of the only few kind of constitutional monarchies, as it's a liberal country compared to the rest of them. People do have rights, there are some elections, but the king still does hold a lot of power. And as the red team troops near the capital, the king will give an inspiring speech. Even though he is just a kid, even though he is just 15, he inspires all of his citizens to take up arms against the red team and fight back for their country, fight for the yellow team. And we see them push a bit in the south. More importantly, rebellions will spring up all over behind the front lines, and this will really confuse the red team military personnel as they retreat out of this land. The red team is now in the defensive. The king continues to follow the army along as they go up this river and near the capital, and morale has never been higher than the yellow team before. As they push on, meet up with the coast. Now another battle will take place out here by the red team capital, which the yellow team will miraculously win. They're outnumbered 2-1, but yeah, they still won it somehow. The red team will conditionally surrender over. Usually will look something like this, with the yellow team gaining access to most of this river, although the entrance to the sea is still controlled by the red team, but at least the yellow team has coastal access now. The blue team also gains back this strip of land along the coast, and the red team retains control of this Kenyan colony up here. Heading back over to India again, the pink team will try a counteroffensive to try and save the red team before they capitulate. So they push into this territory and finally connect back up to them again. However, there was a gap in their front lines around here, and they went to move their troops. So a breakthrough is made by the green team, and they get cut off again. Well, I say green team. It's mostly orange team troops doing this. But the capital is encircled again, and the breakthrough continues as they sneak along the coast and approach the pink team capital. Eventually, the red team capital will be fully encircled and begin being sieged. This all falls back over, and the situation is looking very dire for the Square Alliance. Next, heading over to the Levant, where a Mesopotamian team will continue to expand a bit, getting closer to these Lebanese areas. But we'll also be seeing some new countries form. This brown Lebanese country and this purple kinda is Tel Aviv country forming here in the Levant. However, the brown team is really unlucky. They will instantly get invaded by Mesopotamian team, who overpowers them and cuts them off. Their capital falls. They got jumped immediately, and now they don't exist anymore. Next, we'll be heading over here to the Mozambique area as this gray team, which was the military of the old Malawi team, I believe. They will be invaded by the purple team, and the invasion goes well at first. However, once they get to around this area, the front line begins to slow down and eventually stalls. And it gets worse for the purple team. The pink team quickly joins the war, and it just causes a white peace between the purple team and the gray team, where in the treaty, the purple team just gains these 3 provinces right here. So now they can focus more on the pink team as they push back a bit in the south and eventually split their advances into 2. Their forces get pushed back to the border and they just decide to stop fighting each other as the pink team finally annexes this land back, which the purple team has owned for a very long time. We'll be heading back over to India one more time, where the exhausted Triangle Team forces will make a final push to this historic city, which basically started this whole war between these alliances as they approach it even more, attempt to outflank them. However, the pink team cuts these troops off and they flee to the coast. The battles getting a lot more bloody as this war drags on. Both sides are extremely exhausted. Then eventually, the red team's capital falls. All the forces can finally be diverted over to the front with the pink team, as the coast is basically all taken, and we actually start to see some anti-war rebellions pop up along this remaining area. And the green team uses this to their advantage to quickly get through. Also, they take out the rebellions and betray them. But after many years of fighting, the capital of the pink team will fall. Treaty will look like this, and the orange team will finally take the old historic capital of the blue team and proclaim themselves the rightful ruler of India, which the green team does respect that, and the triangle line stays. But that does infuriate the Mesopotamian team, who stops all their friendly relations and aid, and the blue team, who this is their land originally, and it also annoys the yellow team, but they're still like barbarians basically. Next, we'll return to Europe, where exploration continues through these German lands up along the Oder River, and that's kind of where it stops for now. As the French team, who they're the ones doing this exploration, it's very costly to them, and they don't really know the value of these lands yet. So after exploring all of this, they will take some land. The French team will look something like this, but do not let their big size confuse you. They are very unstable right now. All this land up here, basically no one lives all the way up here. Most of the population lives south of this river right here, this area. So even some of the other older lands, like around here in Brittany, even some of that land is unstable. They're also very poor. For the final events of this video, Mesopotamia will continue their exploration. They're going deeper into these kinda Afghan Pakistani lands. They go up the Indus a bit, and eventually over a long period of time, something like this is all discovered. They will be taking a lot of this land. That will be it for this episode of What If. As you can see, Mesopotamia expanded far out into some Afghan areas even. They also set up this Pakistani buffer state, which isn't a puppet, nor is it like a member of the Mesopotamian crown. It's de facto independent. It just relies on Mesopotamia heavily. But that will actually be it for this episode of What If Civilization Started Over.